Love and Watches is a podcast for male and female watch lovers alike. Perpetual Girl and Ranch Racer are a watch-crazy wife and husband team bringing you the latest in news, gossip, controversy, and anything else that matters in the world of watches. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, Watch fam, this is Ranch Racer.
And Perpetual Girl.
And welcome to episode 12 of the Love and Watches podcast.
A dozen.
We've hit a dozen. Yeah, I don't know what that really means, but I guess that's a good thing. It's a nice sunny day out here in California after a little bit of rain leading up to PG's birthday party this past weekend, which was a lot of fun. Had a good time with all of our friends and neighbors and hit the big 5-0.
I've arrived.
So, yeah, that was 5 months of stress of backyard projects and planning and all kinds of fun stuff, but glad to be finally done with that. So what do we got for the show today?
Looks like a lot of things.
Well, I think a lot of it is going to be you. This should be interesting.
Well, the nitty-gritties will be you.
The nitty-gritties.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kick it off with the wrist checks.
Okay.
Go for it.
I've probably done a wrist check with this before, but I'm wearing my Dan Henry 1964 chronograph Panda because I'm wearing a navy blue casual wrap dress, and I thought this looks really nice with this. And it's also a watch that I've recommended that people give their lady friends.
It is a cool looking chronograph.
It's beautiful.
Really, really
the
neat
band
looking
is
chronograph.
beautiful, and I'm done with my review, and it's just going through a little bit of editing and going to be posted hopefully very, very soon.
Yeah, probably within a day or two of the podcast. And that's a Mecha Quartz, I believe, right?
It is, and it was $250.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, Dan, he does some amazing pieces.
His stuff is all classy. It's very classy.
Well, it's all modeled after vintage stuff, so sizes are right for the most part, and dials are really cool looking. And yeah, he's done an amazing job with this chronograph. I think it's been very popular. I think some of the colors are sold out already.
Yeah, I think this one actually is right now that all silver is still available.
What size is that? Is that a 40 or? I think it's a.
No, it's smaller. It's like 36.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. Is it really 36? Actually, that is pretty small, huh? Maybe 38.
I'm sorry, 38.
38, yeah.
It's 38.
Yeah, that's a great looking
And
watch.
it's got the rice, the
Beads
grains
of rice.
grains of rice
Grains of rice, yeah.
bracelet. It's really pretty.
Yeah, no, it's a good looking, and it comes in the Panda. It comes in a reverse Panda. It comes in silver on silver and black on silver,
black.
I think, right? Or black on black, yeah. Yeah, just a really nice looking watch. That's my computer making noises. I guess I should mute that, huh?
Let's see here. So the first thing we're going to start out with is a little bit of news. Actually, you're going to do your wrist check first. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I need to do my wrist check. I'm just muting my computer. Okay, that's done. All right, so my wrist check today. This is a watch that I think it came out around Basel this year, and I think it's kind of a love it or hate it type thing.
Well, when I first saw it at Macy's, I wanted you to get it.
You dug it. It was on sale. You wanted me to buy it, and I was kind of on the fence. And I'm not exactly sure. Well, I guess what I was waiting for. So just so you guys know, this is the Seiko. It's a Seiko Turtle, Prospex Turtle. It's the SRPC 44. This is the big gold boy. 44 millimeter cases,
OG.
all gold. It's got the black. I think it's a black aluminum bezel insert with gold markings, black dial, gold hands. I mean, there's a lot of gold on this.
Is that rocket ship hands?
Yeah, it's the standard hands that you're going to find on any of the modern
Tuna
turtles, any of the newer turtle.
And dive.
Yeah, but it's funny because I've been a little bit timid about gold. I mean, I like it. But with this one, I didn't buy it because I didn't really care for the black rubber strap. And there was at the time, there weren't really any gold bracelets.
See, I like the black rubber strap. That looked nice.
It was a few weeks ago, I think, Strap Code announced their gold Jubilee for this. And that was it. I was laying on the couch. I ordered the Jubilee. I went to Macy's.com. I ordered the watch. Actually got it for less money than we had originally looked at it for, which was cool. So,
and Jubilee looks so, I mean, it's the perfect amount of bling
it's
I
definitely
like that.
OG.
Oh, it is. It is
way
so
OG.
It's so 80s.
But it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it and been swimming in it and posting it on Instagram and getting a lot of favorable comments. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not like a $40,000 gold Rolex. It's a $300 gold-plated Seiko, and it's a really
Which
cool
is
and
a
fun.
really reliable swimming watch.
Yeah,
dive
no,
watch.
I've been having a really good time with it.
What movement is in that?
It's the 4R35, I believe. So day date, and typical amazing Seiko loom. So this is one that I frequently fall asleep in, and it lasts all night. So yeah, just a really fun watch. Not something I would expect to like, but I just really dig it. And the Jubilee, it's so comfortable. This is the first Jubilee that I've owned, and
Like butter.
man, it is really comfy. So that's my wrist check. Definitely recommend this one if you're into kind of retro gold, 80s, whatever.
I'm seeing more yellow gold.
Yes, and it's yellow gold. It's not rose gold or anything like that. This is classic yellow gold. So a lot of fun.
Plated.
Yeah. Yeah, PVD, or I don't know exactly what the process is that they use. Don't really care. That's not why
It's
I bought
pretty.
it.
I think it's really pretty. It's very manly.
But yeah, it's fun. I'm really, really enjoying it, and I enjoy all my Seikos. They're such great watches. So
That
yeah.
one you could have any size of wrist, but I think a bigger wrist looks a little bit better with that.
For sure, I think you need a decent wrist size for the turtle. The turtle case is 44, and when you bling it out in all gold like this and it stands out, you definitely it can, I think, overwhelm smaller wrists. So I have I think my wrists are just short of 7.5, like 7.375. But anyway, yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, I'm having a good time with it. All right, so that's the wrist checks. I had a little bit of news I wanted to cover. We're a little bit late with some of this news. I think a lot of you guys probably already know this stuff, but there's a few items I wanted to cover. The first one, which seemed to be a bit of a surprise to the watch community, was that Richard Mille, or Dick Mill, as Kaz calls him on Two Broke Watch Snobs, and Audemars Piguet are both leaving SIHH after 2019. So
Tell some of our listeners who aren't familiar with all the different shows what that is.
Yeah, so SIHH, I believe it's either Richmond or LVMH. I think it's the Richmond Group show. Started a long time ago, back in the 90s, I think. I guess kind of competes with Baselworld. I mean, if you're at SIHH, you're not at Baselworld, so I guess they are direct competitors. But after the whole Swatch announcement for Basel, it was a little surprising to see anyone leaving SIHH, but then again, in this day and age with online marketing and people wanting information right now, it's not super surprising. At least not for a Richard Mille. I don't know how many watches they make, but they're $1 million pieces, and they don't make a whole lot every year, and I'm sure they're all pre-sold. So I wasn't too surprised about that, but Audemars Piguet, that's kind of surprising. They're a Rolex competitor. I would have thought they'd want to stay in a big show, so that was a little bit surprising for me. But anyway, what do you think about it? You don't really care.
I don't keep up on a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear it from you.
Yeah. And personally, I don't really care either, because
Well,
I'll probably never go to any of these shows. So whatever.
Well, I always thought that Basel was tough for a smaller watch company to be participating in.
Right. It certainly is, but
because
the
they kind of
Swatch is not small. Swatch Group, those are huge brands.
Right,
Omega,
right.
and I mean they're gigantic.
But I've heard of people leaving Basel because they were small watchmakers, and they weren't really that small, but for Basel they were, and they kind of got shoved out into these outer galleries where they didn't really get to participate in any of the big stuff, which I thought was kind of a bummer. So I'm kind of surprised to see other trade shows losing people too.
Yeah, I mean, Basel, I think, is going to end up right-sizing. They got a little bit too big for their britches, in my opinion. But SIHH, I don't think it's going to be a huge hit to lose these two brands. There's still a lot of great brands there. So anyway, it was newsworthy. The other one, which for us, because we've talked about it a lot, and it was really no great surprise, is that Rolex UK announced an average price increase for this year of 5% across the board. I think it might be taking effect 2019, but that wasn't a surprise. I mean, we've talked about it PG, you've kind of talked about your theories behind the shortage of Rolexes and what they're trying to do. And, honestly, as crazy as people are for Rolexes and trying to find things like Daytonas and some of these other crazy hard to get Rolex watches, I don't think a average 5% increase is going to chase anyone away. And Rolex knows that.
I think it's going to be more.
That's average. So you might have, a watch that doesn't move as well, only getting a 2% price increase or no price increase.
Like the precious metals.
Yeah, but how much you want to bet the Daytona will probably pop up 10%?
I bet more. I think 20 to 25.
Jeez, I hope not. But you never know.
It's unobtainium right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, that was for Rolex UK specifically. So I haven't heard anything for Rolex US if the same price increases are going to happen. I'm sure they are. I would be shocked if they don't. But that was strictly for Rolex UK for now. So I thought that was interesting. And then the last one was Grand Seiko Corporation of America, brand new entity within Seiko Epson Corp. So this is an independent Grand Seiko company here in the US, which is really exciting. And they launched with 3 exclusive US only Spring Drive edition watches in the 44 GS case, which is kind of the classic Zaratsu polishing case. It really shows off that polishing well. And this is particularly exciting for me because I'm actually waiting for the stainless steel version of those 3 watches that came out, and it should be arriving any day now. And I'm very excited.
Well, we got to see all 3 of those at Grand Seiko in Las Vegas when we went for Couture Time, and those were all serial numbers like 0001.
Yeah,
weren't they? Or were they?
No, they were all
zeros
because they were prototypes. So we saw them the day
prototype,
that they were released to the press, which was kind of fun. And as soon as I saw that stainless steel blue dial, I mean, the dial's incredible. If you guys haven't seen it, just go to Grand Seiko US website.
They actually hadn't been released to media yet.
Well, that was the first day.
That was the first day they were released.
That was the first day that they had been shown to
in public
to anybody, and it's a media show. So they had been released to the media. There was a few stories done on them, but now it was a few days ago that they actually officially launched them. So,
and the stainless is the only one with a bracelet. The others have leather.
Yeah, and I just found out last night that the stainless also comes with 2 additional leather or croc straps, which is really cool. So. Yeah, I'm excited. The Spring Drive is something that's been on my wish list for a long time, and so it was a bit of a stretch to do it. I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it.
We need to go through the couch cushions.
We always say that, but yeah, it's. I'm excited. It's going to be neat, and I will be posting that on the website and on Instagram,
and selling things on Craigslist
right
between now and then.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's got a budget.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that was the news items that I wanted to cover. And so topic 1, this is something that I asked you to cover because we've had lots of comments and DMs on Instagram.
And even just verbal comments from our friends in our Red Bar group.
Yep. So, I mean, from all different directions, how do I get my significant other to understand my watch habit? Right, because it is still very male dominated, and a lot of collectors, they don't have their significant others don't understand why they collect watches or why they like them. They're outdated. Why are you spending money on watches? So we've been getting this question over and over again, and I asked you if you could talk through some points about why you like watches, what drew you to watches. Obviously, there's age involved, right, as well, how old you are, what generation you are, but just because someone is younger, I don't think that means they can't be interested in watches. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of good reasons. So you wrote down a bunch of reasons, and I'm going to let you take it from here and talk a little bit about it.
I wrote down a whole bunch of notes here, so nothing's really scripted and outlined, but watches, women in watches, and men, they want their wives to be into watches if they're into watches, because of course it's a hobby you can share. So for me, it started when I was young. I think, in the 1970s, you wore a watch, and that was like a rite of passage. You got a watch when you were a young kid. I have my Snoopy, which is a manual wind. And I had the original one for years and years, but with all the moving, I can't locate it, but I found one at the local flea market,
Right.
our little Saturday, most Saturdays it says, flea market. So I found one there for $10, found one on eBay. And every time I look at it, it reminds me of when I was little. And graduated high school, I got a Seiko. So some generations, you got them as gifts. Nowadays, the millennials, young kids, not so much. But I think, like in our area, they're still teaching kids how to tell time in school. So that becomes a fun thing to give for gifts. So I think kids they're still introduced to it, but getting really into it is a different thing. So for me, I had my father was really into clocks and watches, but mostly clocks. His generation, post-depression, you had maybe one or two because you'd buy a watch and you'd wear that watch every day. That was your watch. So for budget constraints, you didn't have a lot of watches. But I think nowadays people do have one for each occasion. But I kind of got into that and I was in the technical side of aviation for a long time. So all those kinds of moving parts and cars and things like that, I'm sort of a tomboy. So for some tomboys, they like it.
What about for younger women that didn't grow up with that kind of background? How does a guy watch collector? I mean, you have some stuff that you've written down around
I'm getting
watches as jewelry,
moving along into that. But I think if you really want to get your significant other into it, I think teaching them about it, you can't just sit down and say, we're going to have a watch discussion about technical things. But what you can do is you can gift your special lady or whoever, special person, with a watch. And some people, you give them a watch and they don't really know what's inside of it. So if you choose carefully, depending on their style, I had one person who's one of our fans ask me, he said, hey, I'd like to give a gift and this is what this person's looking for. And, what can you recommend?
So he's trying to get her.
He wants to
watches.
gift her a watch, a nice watch, and he has a budget. And this person didn't want the colored golds, and they're a very casual person. So there are things like eco drives and solar watches where, I mean, it's almost an automatic in that you don't ever have to change a battery. And as long as it's getting some light, I mean, it doesn't have all the gears and automatic movement, rotors, etc. But I think those solar drives are great watches. They're a great way to start a watch collector with a watch, any watches.
Yeah.
But,
so Seiko Solar and then Eco Drive from
the Citizen Eco
right?
Drive. And I took a look at something. I mean, Seiko, great company. Everyone loves Seiko. Citizen, they have a lot of women's watches currently. And they have a lot of solars, and they have a lot of small dress watches that are more traditional of like the olden days, but they've got a lot of really nice sporty or large watches like boyfriend style watches, chronographs, and a solar chronograph. What a great tool. I mean, I do use mine a lot here on our ranch, but you could time anything if you're trying to time your well water from going dry or whatever you're doing.
Probably most of our listeners don't have to worry about that.
But I chose a bunch and just emailed them to him, and I picked out a couple of chronographs. I picked out some really versatile colors like a white dial or silver or even a black dial. But I think the watches that I have are that are more neutral colors you can wear with anything, and you can still get a lot of nice stainless steel. So I think if you have a budget of like $200 to $500, there's a lot of really nice dressier, casual, sporty watches. And there's always the Seiko 5, which I wear mine a lot. And you can put different bands on it. It's a really good movement. It's got a exhibition back, which if you give someone something with an exhibition back, it's so much fun because it's like, wow, that's really what a watch looks like on the inside.
Yeah, and when we show people that, even people that have no interest in watches, and you turn that watch over and you show them that mechanism working, I have never had someone go, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, whatever. They're really?
They're all like,
and there's
whoa,
no
that
battery,
is so cool.
and you don't have to wind it. It's like, well, you have to keep wearing it, but this is how it works. And you maybe maintain it every 5 or 10 years. But
right.
If you go with an automatic watch, it's going to last a long time if you take care of it minimally. And watches can become an heirloom. And that's one thing that we've talked to our buddy who does our contracting. And he said, these are things I can leave to my boys. Or your girls.
Women don't necessarily think that way, though.
Well,
all the
sure
time.
We do. I mean, you have like your mother's pearls, or grandparents' jewelry, or my great aunt left me her wedding ring. I mean,
right, but
that's
I mean
an
about
heirloom.
watches. That's
But
the thing.
that's what I was saying is a watch can be a wonderful heirloom because it is a piece. It technically is really a piece of jewelry, but it's a tool. So
Yeah.
that's the thing is you can get someone a very utilitarian, sporty watch like a Seiko 5 on Amazon, which is an excellent watch, which I've gifted 2 people now with and got one person really into. My goose friend is now into watches. Now her husband's not very happy with me.
Did you get chewed out at the party?
I did. But I said, hey, you can have a great collection on a budget.
Well,
She's got very important things to spend her money on. And so
and I
there's
found
a watch
that
for everybody.
I have found that like a lot of my guy friends, like I'll go to my guy trips up to Tahoe or whatever, and most of them don't do anything. They have no common hobbies with their wives or significant others. Some of them do, but usually the kids are the common thing. But as the kids get older,
Right. You can get the kids into
what
watches
what
too.
is the commonality? So, that's one thing I've told a lot of guys is talk to your wife or your girlfriend about what, it's a hobby you can share together, right? And
on any budget.
on any budget, the budget doesn't matter. Styles, any style.
There's
there's
many
so
styles.
much, right?
So that brings me to a really important topic is it's like jewelry. It's like clothes. You can wear, like if I don't wear, like on one arm today, I have a wrap bracelet, a beaded wrap bracelet. And on my other hand, I have my wedding ring and my Dan Henry, and that's it. And I look finished for the most part. So if I don't have any other jewelry on, if I have a watch on, I feel like I've kind of completed and I look like I didn't just run out of the house, out of bed. So I think it's an essential piece of jewelry that makes a statement because it's larger than say a like a small bracelet or a ring.
So instead of buying your wife a bracelet for Christmas this year, buy her a watch. And it can be a smaller watch, but it can be more of a jewelry, blingy type watch.
Right. So you can do something.
So she's getting something more than just a bracelet, right?
There's a lot of casual watches with a little bit of diamonds that you can get for $200 and less. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But so your watch can be a large, sporty statement. It can be casual and sort of understated, or it can be small, like a gold, like it almost looks like it's just a bracelet. And then it's got a little watch in between, like my vintage, that giant Wonder Woman cuff bracelet. You can't even tell that's a watch,
right,
until you look really closely. So they really do have such a huge range of personality and such a range of materials that if you for any budget, you can do anything. You can do precious metals, stainless, plastic, rubber, gold, silver, titanium. I mean, there's everything. So it really is, you could have an outfit, you could have a watch for every outfit to have that sort of feel and go with that flavor of that outfit, or it could be your personality, like a wild art piece, or I mean, it really could be anything, and it's going to tell you the time, or also be an alarm, or even some of the new smartwatches look like Fossil makes some pretty fancy, dressy watches that are smartwatches that you wouldn't know are a smartwatch. So maybe a fashion smartwatch could be a good way to get your wife involved or girlfriend involved.
And one thing I'm hearing is don't buy her something that you like.
It's tough because I recommended
so
things that I liked.
No. What I'm saying is the guy shouldn't buy the girl something that he thinks is cool looking. He needs to understand. You got to. I mean, number one, you have to understand your partner. If your partner is artistic and into art, like a Mr. Jones would be perfect. They would love that.
I forgot about those. Those are really neat. They are mostly automatics, but they do have some quartzes. So
they have some quartzes, but if she's an athlete or a runner.
Oh,
get
then
her
you've got your
a larger
G-Shock
chronograph or a G-Shock.
Or a large chronograph, like the Dan Henry is a chronograph, but it really is dressy. I mean, it's a pretty watch with a nice band. So there really is just about anything. Like if this person is a sports person, you could totally get away with a chronograph with a neutral white dial or mother of pearl, because you can wear it all the time. Like even my black Seiko 5 and Rolex Explorer 1, I've been wearing. Well, I'm still on the honeymoon phase of the Rolex, but I wear that a lot. Like if I don't know where I'm going to go and I'm just around the house and I'm just wearing a t-shirt and jeans or shorts, I throw that Explorer on because I know it's pretty durable. Mm-hmm. And then there's other things that I wear that are more casual, like a lighter dial that can go with anything. So you just have to kind of know that person and what they're going to be wearing it for. Are they going to be going to work in it? Do they work in a casual place? Are they in a more business office, like a law firm? You could totally change depending on the colors of her suits she wears. So just kind of, you don't, oh, what was that? We just heard a big crash outside.
I have no idea. Something fell over.
Oh, well, I guess we'll go. Do you want to go check and I'll keep talking?
Sure, I'll check
just
it.
Ranch life. But I think you don't want to pair a really large 40 millimeter sports watch with a skirt and suit. It would have to be a more dressy chronograph. So I think just knowing the person and basing it on what they normally wear, you can kind of go that way, or even asking them what they like. Age. Another thing is age plays a factor. I think people that are in my generation who may be, post-millennial, who are around in their 40s or 50s, they're going to remember the days of buying watches, wearing watches, or their parents wearing watches. Like I always remember my dad had on a gold Bulova, so gold-plated Bulova. And that sort of thing reminded me of him and his generation, and he always wore the same watch. So that was probably pretty common for most of us who our folks had one or two watches that they'd wear all the time. So talking about that, I think a watch kind of tells a personality, tells about that person's personality. So whenever I see a similar vintage 1960s dress watch, I kind of think of my dad and his generation. So think about what kind of personality your partner has and choose a watch that kind of represents that personality.
I like you mentioned in here historical significance, and that's kind of interesting because if your significant other is kind of into history or interested in history, then maybe a vintage watch, even if it's a vintage quartz.
Like a real, like an older quartz, like my older Pulsar is, I think I paid $30 for it.
It's really in right. Vintage is in right now, right?
Yeah. And if you want to even go further, pocket watches, you can still find a lot of affordable pocket watches, like railroad watches. I have a girlfriend whose husband works for the railroad. I mean, that would be a fantastic gift for someone who's into the railroad or aviation. Of course, Breitling is all about that sort of thing, but some people don't have a Breitling budget.
And Breitlings traditionally are pretty huge up
They're
until
really
just very
big,
recently.
Right. The recent brand ambassador advertising that I just saw while I was watching YouTube that they kind of force you to watch now was I didn't realize that Breitling had such a big ambassador campaign, but the woman was wearing the newest ladies with the beaded
the
bezel.
38 millimeter.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a neat watch. I know you and my sister love that one.
Oh, I do. I'm not thrilled about brand ambassador stuff because that's a topic that we've talked about that could either make or break.
Totally.
I think it could kill a company, but enough about that and more about how to get your special person into watches. But
so gifting is obviously a very good way to do it.
Gifting is a great way, because
but if you screw up, you might lose them forever, right? You got to get it right. You have to understand them really well.
I think for women, if you have kids, I think heirlooms are always great. We don't have kids, but I've written up in some of our paperwork who to give certain things to. And I think that's a really great investment too, because it could be anything from a bracelet or a ring or a watch, or even an engraved watch, or buying your child a watch the day a lot of people are buying their children the day they're born, like an Omega Speedmaster, and then the dad wears it until their 21st birthday, and then they gift it. So there's all kinds of really tricky things and neat things you can do to buy a collector piece, because they really are as collectible, if not more, than jewelry, based on their history and they'll last forever. I mean, if you take good care of an automatic watch, it'll last forever. I was on the narrow gauge railroad out in Santa Cruz with my sister many years ago, and this funky old guy who was leading the tour group talked about how we got to the top, and he talked about how they had discovered this body of an old conductor from, I don't know if it was turn of the century or older, like it was like 1890s or something.
That's crazy.
And in his pocket, he was all pretty much decomposed and gone, but under his conductor jacket, he had some gold coins in his pocket watch. So, we're talking over 100 years old, and that pocket watch was still probably fine.
Oh, I'm sure it functions
Probably fine.
You
So
service it and it'll kick right out.
So longevity is something that it's going to last and be there for a long time, just like a really solid piece of jewelry or a diamond ring.
So what about, this is obviously at a different budget level, so this would depend on your situation, but what if your wife or girlfriend is really into brand, handbag brands or other, like if they're into Cartier jewelry or some handbag brand that also makes watches, would that be a good way to do it? Like if she was into Cartier jewelry, get her a Cartier watch.
I think obviously, yes.
Right. So you look at her brand preferences.
Look at brand preferences. I think, I was just looking more at a more affordable.
Yeah, but everyone's got different budgets,
but everyone has a budget, right? And like the Cartier Santos, the men's medium that you bought me.
Yep.
I love that watch.
Plus I can steal it and wear it too.
And you can see, that's another thing. You can share that one. There's a lot of watches you can share. That watch is so versatile because you can buy all the different brands. And of course, it's on the upper end of the budget because the bands alone are like $400 each. But
right.
easy to interchange. White dial, stainless bezel and case. I could wear that with anything. I can wear it with casual. I can wear it with dressy stuff. It scratches easily. I don't think there's a single shred of anti-scratch on that whole watch, but I adore that watch. That's one of my top favorites. Favorites.
I can't think of many women that I know that would turn their nose up at a gift like that.
No.
Right? I mean, obviously that's a lot of money, but if you're spending money on European vacations or cars
it's
or
all
other,
relative.
it's all
Everyone's
relative,
got
right?
their
So
thing,
it's just maybe moving money from one place to another. I don't know.
So
but
instead, you'd spend more on a Hermes Kelly handbag than you would on that watch.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like I know what that is, other than hearing you talk about it.
I just mentioned it because there's a whole subculture around that I'm not privy to. Because I don't buy handbags, I buy watches. But that's the thing is, a brand like Cartier does have a lot of variety. I mean, the one I have is a men's watch, but they have a whole bunch of women's watches that are more like jewelry. They're very elegant. Many of them are quartzes. Some, I think the Panthera, is that a automatic, ladies, or is it the Tank?
I forget.
And then there's the round one, the Ballon de Bleu. That's an automatic. Yeah. But like if you look at the difference between the square watches and the round, they have a totally different feel. So you just have to kind of think what is going to match this person's personality? What will they wear more? If something is really busy, they may not wear it all the time.
Right.
I personally like two-tone because I can wear it with any jewelry. So you can look at what your person wears. Do they wear a lot of yellow? Do they wear silver? If you wear a lot of silver, you can pair it with stainless or white gold. Two-tone you can't wear all the time because if you wear rose gold, you can't really wear a yellow and stainless, but they do make rose and stainless. So
and a lot of younger generation prefers rose gold
prefer
over,
the rose over
yellow
yellow.
Gold. So again, even if it's something that you personally don't like or wouldn't buy, you're not buying for yourself. You're buying for someone that you're trying to get attracted into this hobby that you guys can share. And we mentioned that we share the Cartier, but what about his and hers, right? Surprising her. It doesn't have to be like a holiday, but surprise her with a watch where you buy one for her and one for you in different sizes, and you guys, can wear them out together.
You can match. It's almost like the old Aloha shirt days.
Would that be appealing to a woman?
I think so.
Yeah.
We actually have. What have we got that's matched? We've got a his and her version of something.
Well, we have the his and hers of the Christopher Ward Tridents.
That's right. Okay.
So I have the 43 and you have the 38.
Yeah, it's fun to have a match.
But there's all different brands that you can buy that make them in different sizes.
I think for milestones, I think watches are an excellent gift for his and her, like for an anniversary, any kind of anniversary of a wedding, first date.
Would you personally like it more
Christmas?
If the man bought them without you knowing, or if he said, we're going to go shopping and we're going to buy his and hers watches?
You can always ask. You can always say, hey, do you want to go shopping for some? I thought it might be fun to get, like we bought was it our 17th or 16th anniversary? We bought the Speedmasters. Yep. And we have completely different Speedmasters.
different sizes, different colors.
And the funny thing is the one I have, I wasn't originally looking at that one because I'm not a pink person, because the hands on that
You
watch
barely
are
see the
baby
pink.
pink. But the overall style of that watch is mother of pearl, stainless steel. It has a white bezel. And I found that I was wearing another watch, a similar watch, a Seiko, so much that I thought this would be a nice choice just because I know I'm going to wear it. So based on my casual wardrobe, which this person who contacted us through the Instagram, I recommended more neutral things like mother of pearl dial, not a lot of bling, or a white dial. So I think, again, just that person's personality and what their habits are. But back to the gift. You could surprise, and you could always return it. But
there's
sometimes
the risk there.
There's a risk there that you may not be able to return it. But I know with Joma Shop they do, and your local jeweler, like I know ours right in town, they would totally take it back if, like when I bought you
Most
one
places
watch.
you can do returns now.
But it is fun doing the research together too. I mean, I
Well,
think
that's
most
the
women
thing,
like
like-
to shop
Like
online.
you surprise if you guys are celebrating like an anniversary, you surprise her. You say we're going to go out, we're going to go shopping for something. You get in the car and you have a specific location in mind, and you might even have some specific watches in mind. But you have a location in mind where you're going to take her and say, okay, for our anniversary, we're going to buy matching, or his and hers watches.
That sounds fun. Make it a dinner date and call your watch person ahead of time in your local store and say, do you have a minute to spend with us, and make a little appointment out of it. I mean, you could make it fun.
Go out to dinner and you could make a night of it.
All kinds of ideas. But I think for someone, like some women just don't care. And I get it.
And you're just never going to have any
and you
success.
may never get them into it, like getting them into cars. But I think if you gift someone and it's interesting enough and versatile, I mean, unless they're just really addicted to their iWatch, is that what it's called? Apple Watch.
Apple Watch.
Apple Watch.
iWatch. I don't know what it's called. It's called the Apple Watch.
Which we have one, and it just picked on me so much I took it off. But if they really love that and they need that, you may not be able to get them to relinquish it. However, there are some pretty fashiony smartwatches out there.
Yeah, and maybe that's the way to do it with a smartwatch. If they don't have
someone
an
who's
Apple
really
Watch,
resistant.
or if they use Android phones, you get them one of the many, Android compatible watches, smartwatches.
I've seen a lot out there.
I mean, maybe that's kind of if you don't think you're going to be successful with a traditional mechanical or quartz piece, maybe you get them a smartwatch.
So I think if the person is someone who might be interested in the mechanics of it, if they have a little bit of a mechanical aptitude, or like certain cars, or like their car, anything that with an exhibition back, or even a solar with the solar technology, it's pretty cool stuff. And seeing the back of an automatic is pretty
solar
interesting.
idea. I think that's a good idea because I've heard too
It's
many
a good
stories
start.
about guys that buy their significant other a mechanical or even a quartz where the battery dies and
then
they
it just sits in the
sits
drawer.
right. And a mechanical, they might mess with it for a month or so and then they get tired of setting it or winding it, whatever, and it just doesn't get worn. Whereas the solar, as long as they're outside and they wear it, it just won't die. It'll just keep going. They don't have to reset it. It's going to be accurate. That to me seems like a really good option.
Yeah, I've seen some really, and boy, that Citizen website is filled with all kinds of neat ladies solar eco drive.
Oh yeah, and Seiko has some solar
They do.
ladies
Beautiful.
watches. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there.
And keep in mind, this isn't the last watch hopefully you're going to buy for this person as a gift. I mean, you could make a little tradition of, oh, my husband gives me a watch every anniversary.
Yeah,
And
make it a tradition.
I've got a
That's
little bit
great.
of everything. I've got my my all crystal bulova that looks like the diamond encrusted Cartier that I think I paid $250 for, or
Right.
$300.
Right.
And that is like if you were maybe on a cruise ship and go to a formal dinner, you wear this thing that looks like a big. I mean, it's so sparkly. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I don't wear it every day, but if we go out, every once in a while, I'll wear it.
And it's quartz, so it's always
it's
it
quartz.
just
So I
keeps
just
ticking.
pull the stem out and
Yeah.
let the battery not be used. But there's a little bit of something for any occasion. I really think. I think
There is
watches as
totally.
gifts are a really great start because they'll find what they wear for different things too. So I say just go for it and just try to make the first one a little bit easy to user friendly. Like you can't go wrong with the solar because you're never going to, I mean, maybe in 15 years you have to change that. Is it a capacitor?
Yeah, it's a capacitor, and I don't think I've owned any solars long enough to have to deal with that, so I don't know what the deal. I mean, it's probably at that point you junk it and you buy another one. I don't know. I mean,
well,
it's
maybe
probably
not.
it's probably going to be more than what the watch is worth to have someone go in and solder a new capacitor into the board. So,
well, we may be wrong. So if anyone has done it,
yeah,
feel
let us know if you've
educate
ever
us.
had to
Educate
service
us.
a solar watch. The other thing I was thinking, you've talked a lot about things like jewelry and color matching and matching to outfits. Most of us guys don't have a clue about that. I mean, we're totally tone deaf when it comes to matching stuff.
Well,
I mean, not all of us, but
and
a
I don't
lot
mean
of
this
us
to
are.
sound bad, but a lot of men are colorblind. It's just a fact. It's a Y chromosome thing.
Yeah, but something I was thinking was, what about asking, if you're not sure and you don't want to make a mistake and turn her off of watches even more, if she's got female siblings, talk to her sisters, talk to
Like what color does she
her
like
friends.
to wear?
What colors do they like? What do you think she?
Do you wear more black?
Get
Or do you wear
input
more
from
white?
other
Yeah.
women and say, I'd love to buy her a watch. It's a hobby I'd like to share with her. Something we could do together that's doesn't necessarily have to be expensive, and it's not like cars and that kind of stuff. Ask her female friends and family members. Get some input from them. That seems to me like it would be a pretty good way to do it. Don't you think?
Yeah. Or just go for it. Either way. And you can always say, hey, I just picked this out for you. If you don't like it, there's so many. We can go back and look together, and you can always return it. Like I'm sure Macy's is the same way, and they've got great selections.
I mean,
things.
And I think really it's important to talk to them and just let them know that you would love to share a hobby with them, and if they're willing to give it a shot, I think most women would be, right? If their guy says, hey, I want us to spend time together. I want us to share a fun hobby together that we can enjoy together. I love watches. I know a lot about them. You can wear them as jewelry. To me, it just seems like most women would be into that, right? Especially if you're someone that goes and does a lot of guy stuff and away from your family.
And even if you aren't that kind of person, I don't think any woman would say no to, can I buy you this beautiful...
Can we spend more time together? No.
And can I give you this diamond watch?
Right.
Or this beautiful mother of pearl or whatever. I don't think they're going to turn their nose up at that. It's a thoughtful gift.
Yeah.
And for me, any gift is a thoughtful gift. So that's...
But the more research you do and the more that gift, that watch reflects their personality and their likes and the way they dress and that kind of stuff. That's why it's important to really do your homework and understand that, and not just buy something you think looks cool and that you think they'll like. Right.
Well, and the first watch you ever gave me was that tiny little Bulova with the white dial.
Oh, that's right. Before
I was
we got
working
married.
in an office. No, it was right after we got married.
Oh, was it?
I think it was like just a couple years because we were in our second place. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it's very dainty and very old fashioned and more like a bracelet. And at the time I was working in an office, so it was perfect. And I still have it.
Yeah, and I don't think either of us were wearing watches at that time. I mean,
I was, because I had that one from Costco
Maybe
that
you
I
were,
bought
yeah.
when we were courting, and I still have it. And it's like a 34 millimeter Geneva brand, it's a Swiss brand,
that's right,
quartz. But it was, at the time, that was a really big ladies' watch, and it was like 34 millimeters or 32 or something like that.
And it's
It's
really
actually
changed.
still cute.
That's changed
Still
a
cute.
lot. I mean, women are not afraid to wear bigger watches. You don't want to go overboard, though.
No.
You got to be careful if you go too
Yeah, and
big.
it just depends on the age. Like I know we gifted your sister, and you and I gave your mom a Bulova, and I think it was 34 mil, and it actually looks pretty big on her wrist.
It does.
She's a petite,
it's the open heart
senior
automatic.
lady, yeah, and it's just beautiful. But the generation, you can, with older ladies, I think you can go a little smaller on a watch, because that's what they're used to.
That's a good point. Is wrist size is important to know too, and I mean, you
Right.
can't really just take a tape measure and say, "Hon, I need to measure your wrist," right? I mean, especially if you're doing it
Unless
under
it's
the
a
radar.
if it's a leather band or a vegan
look-
leather
but
band.
Maybe
Doesn't matter.
grab one of her bracelets she wears a lot that's form fitting on her wrist, right? Because then you can measure that or take that with you or whatever. But
Well, you can always adjust it
I was
after.
chatting with someone on Instagram, a gal that has been following you, and she has really tiny wrists, like 5.5 or 5.25 or something, really, really small wrists. So something that would work for you is not necessarily going to work for her. So that's the other
lugs
thing
might
to keep
stick
in
out
mind
over
is,
the ends of her wrist.
yeah, you might get a 34 for and it's too big and the lugs stick out, right? So you have to be mindful of that as well.
Well, in a smaller watch, you're going to see more of the band. Like, I have one 34 millimeter watch that I almost thought, oh, should I have gotten the 36? Because larger dials are in, but with the larger face, you don't see as much of the band, and it's got a gorgeous Jubilee band. So that makes it changes the feel of that watch and gives it a little bit more dressy feel.
Right.
So it isn't necessarily bad to have a smaller watch because you can see more of the rest of the watch. Like you see so many women on in the media wearing these humongous Daytonas that are hanging on their wrist. I think it looks horrible.
I do too, but some women
out. You
like
can see
that.
The gap.
Right?
You can see the gap between the lug and their.
Some
you can
women
see
like
daylight.
that. A lot of them, I think, are just wearing them because they're like, because it's a Daytona that's unobtainable, and they're showing.
Or maybe
that they
it's
can
their
get it, right?
boyfriends and they're just borrowing it, and it's big.
Yeah. I don't know. No idea.
Any other questions?
I think the biggest thing, the easiest way to get them into watches, have them listen to this podcast. Have them listen to PG. I mean, stick it on in the car when you guys are going somewhere. Probably, preferably not with screaming kids in the back seat so you can't pay attention. But if they hear that you're listening to a podcast where a woman is talking about her point of view, that it can't hurt, right? That's going to help. So have them listen to the podcast however you can, whether it's you're sitting in the living room reading and you turn on the podcast or you're in the car. If they hear a female voice and not a couple dudes talking about dive watches, it's going to make a big difference, right?
But that's how I kind of got into the podcast and really started thinking about watches, was listening to Kaz and Mike.
Well, that's mostly
They're
just
so
because
funny.
they crack you up so
They
much
crack
you
me
were
up.
rolling on the floor
They're
laughing.
smart and funny.
Yeah,
so.
they're good guys, but not all women are going to be into their style of humor.
No,
So
no.
you have to balance that.
But and your girlfriend, wife, whatever, they don't have to become aficionados and understand how spring drive works and understand what
Right.
kind of rotors are on these and what the movement numbers are. Because I'm not really, I know a little bit about that, but even if they're just moderately interested, they're going to like certain types of watches, period. You'll figure it out. I mean, they may want something with diamonds. They may not. They may like a chronograph. They may like a black face or a silver
They'll
face.
get drawn into if you can get them get over that first hump and get someone interested. I think
The gateway
it's a hobby
watch.
it's a hobby that drags you in because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I need a blue dial and I need a chronograph and I need a dress watch and this and that. There's all these different, and it's like collecting anything, right? It's like collecting pens or whatever. I mean,
Well, women don't collect pens, really. I mean, some do, but again, this is a hobby that.
But it's like collecting anything.
But see, people use pens and people use watches. Unless I didn't wear a watch for a real long time when I finally got the first smartphone, and now I'm finding that I don't want to have my phone on me all the time. I need a break, and I want to disconnect and not live my life through the camera of my phone. I see so many people with their kids and they're like, look at mommy. And they've got their phone and they're living it through the no, they're not actually in the moment. They're in the camera video.
Or at the concert with
selfie sticks.
40,000 hands or 20,000 hands up in the air with their camera and they're not paying attention to where they're at, right? That's a different.
So it's a nice way to disconnect and always have a watch. And I wear it at night. So when I wake up, because I wake up a lot at night with insomnia. So I know what time it is, and I don't have to worry about trying to roll over and find
your phone
or find my phone because I put my phone in the other room on airplane. So.
And there's a bit of a backlash. Excuse me, a little bit of a backlash against technology. People are getting sick and tired of being bugged by their phone all the time. So this is a good time to get that person into this hobby. I think it's a great time.
I get a lot of crank, like telemarketing, weird phone calls
constant.
now. There's no such thing as a do not call list anymore. No. And I'm not sure what that's all about, but it's many, many, many times a day.
Yeah. And can you imagine if you have a smartwatch and that's ringing all the time and they're all marketing calls? I mean, I think people are getting tired of it. I am seeing a bit of a backlash against the constant always on technology. I mean, not from everybody, but a lot of people are like, I've had it. I'm done. I need a break. And so they're turning to more traditional things like a watch or anything
And
else.
a watch, let's face it, it's a great accessory because it can be anything you want. It can be military canvas style. It can be like a beautiful diamond bracelet.
Yeah.
It can be anything.
Yep.
And I think it becomes more of a statement because it is larger than a standard bracelet, unless you're wearing some really giant, big old Tiffany cuffs or things like that. But
Right.
I don't walk out of the house with big bracelets on. So I wear more casual things, casual bracelets, and the watch is kind of one of my statement pieces.
And you mentioned you're a tomboy, which you are, but you still you love your Cartier with a bright pink
I do.
leather band on it. You still like women, you still like feminine things.
And for watches, I've really resisted rose and pink and things like that. But when I saw that pink band, that raspberry pink on that Cartier,
it looks pretty good on
I'm
me.
like,
I
think
like it.
it kind of really introduced me into more feminine stuff. So and that, I can change all the time. I'm not committing with that. It has the quick release, and I can put a black or brown band or the silver bracelet on there whenever I want.
Well, and that's the other thing you can do is if you buy her a watch that you have done your research, you think she's going to like the aesthetics of it, buy 2 or 3 different bands for it.
That's
Quick
a great
release
idea.
bands.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
make it easy to change them out.
I've done that with the ones I've given as gifts, the Seiko 5s. I bought the gingerbread color Barton because it's got the quick release.
Yep.
And it's super easy to do that.
And if you get them 2 or 3 quick releases, they may decide they don't even want to use the factory bracelet or strap that came with it. They can just do their own changes, right? Mm-hmm. Super easy. So I think that's another thing to think about is don't just buy the watch. Buy her some different bands that are easy to change that she can accessorize with the watch and change how it looks for different occasions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of?
Well, you covered it. This was your show for the most part.
But you asked some really good questions I didn't really think of.
I think, at the end of the day, just have her listen to this podcast. That should cover everything, right?
Well, it is really
I think you have a lot of good ideas.
Yeah. I'm kind of a geek, though, so I really enjoy the differences between the different movements.
Sorry, guys, I lucked out. She's mine. Well, I had another topic I wanted to cover, but we are already at over 50 minutes. So I'm
out there to
I'm going to save it for a different show. I had a request from someone to talk about spring drive, which it may be even more apropos in our next show because I might have my spring drive. So that would be pretty cool.
I better go search the couch cushions right now.
Yeah, we're going to go searching. But well, I think we can probably wrap.
I guess the whole point is there's every budget. You can start, like I did a watch I was wearing this morning was the one that your dad, you got from your dad after he passed away. And I think you bought it on a cruise ship for like $10. It's actually featured it's featured on our website as a quartz movement. When you popped open the back, it has this teeny little.
That was like our second episode, I think.
Yeah. And it's probably, I think he paid $10 or $20 for it because he forgot his watch. Yeah. And it's kind of got that Rolex Explorer. My
dad owned a lot of airport and cruise line watches.
Yes, a lot of cheapies, and but he had some neat stuff too.
He did have some great stuff.
Neat 70s things. But this one has kind of that polar dial with the silver bezel, so it's fun. So there's something for any budget. If you don't have a lot of money to spend, you will find something. And if you have a lot of money to spend, you'll still find something.
Well, if you have a lot of money to spend, I think it gets easier because it's almost like buying an expensive piece of jewelry, right?
Yeah, well, then you have to kind of be careful. Like, am I going overboard on the diamonds when I really don't need to?
Yeah.
Because bling is not always good. Like, I'm still not a big fan of the whole diamond encrusted bezel, just because that's so over the top for my style. I don't live.
But some women may love that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gals who I see a lot of posts with the Rolex 34 and 36 Datejust with the Cartier Love bracelet, which costs that single bracelet costs more than most dress watches. Ooh. They're like $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 bracelets. So,
oh my gosh, yeah. So I think, get her a Cartier watch instead.
Yeah, and you'll only spend $5,000 or $6,000.
Right. For all of our listeners that are in that price bracket.
Cartier still they do have like $3,000 watches. They're quartzes.
Right.
But they do have the ladies more affordable. So there's any watch for any budget, and they're all equally great. Mm-hmm. I wear them all.
You do. You have more than me, I believe.
I kind of started this whole thing.
Yep, this is your fault.
Well, hopefully we can share it with others and get them equally in trouble.
It's why we do this. All right, let's wrap it.
Okay.
I think we covered a lot of great stuff. I want to thank my lovely wife, Perpetual Girl, for putting this together for
Likewise.
you guys, and I hope it helped. If you have more questions, as always, reach out to us on Instagram, on the website, contact page. You can email us at ranchracer@leavenwatches.com or perpetualgirl@leavenwatches.com. And
and if you've done a Eco Drive or solar capacitor change,
let us know about
we'd like
that.
to hear your successes
I've never
and
done that.
horror stories. So
yep,
be good to know.
Like to hear from any of you that might have had one of those serviced.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much. As always, we ask that you, if you enjoy the show or if you don't enjoy the show, either way, give us a rating and a little quick review if you're on iTunes. I don't know about all the other
And if we
platforms,
make mistakes, call us out.
Yeah,
let us know.
We're not experts. We just love watches and we want to talk to you guys about them. So until next time and episode 13, this is Ranch Racer.
And Perpetual Girl. Ooh, maybe Ranch Racer will do episode 13 on Halloween, Day of the Dead.
Oh, that's a great idea. All right, guys, we will see you for the next episode. Hang loose.
Bye-bye.